One of the things we want to talk about, I don't know if we want to switch to foreplay real quick, just for opportunities for connection throughout
Yes,
the day.
absolutely. Absolutely. I think this is going to be such a fun topic because I think when we think about foreplay, we think like, we think of sexual acts,
Hmm.
but it's so much more than that. Like, foreplay is the contact made throughout the day. It's the kisses that like you exchange with your partner throughout the day. It's the hand holding. Um, it's so many things. Like, it encompasses like our connection that we are participating in throughout the day, not just what's going on right before we participate in acts, if that makes sense.
For sure. Yeah, I think it's easy to confuse foreplay with like the physical priming for sex, like the physical, like let's get aroused for sex, right? And whatever that involves for you. So it's so much deeper than that and so much more nuanced than that. And it starts the moment that you wake up and how you approach each other from that moment on. And so, like you said, Alicia, like the physical affection, whether it be kisses or cuddling or hand holding, or like when you walk by and, pat them on the booty or, rub their shoulder, whatever it is, like those exchanges of physical contact can be a really great way of tapping into foreplay or kind of priming. And also, by the way, that doesn't mean if you are starting your day out like this and being really intentional, that doesn't mean that the expectation has to be sex at night, right? Or at some point during the day. It's this ongoing process when you start to look at your life through the lens of all of these acts are for deeper intimacy, deeper connection, and can be considered under the umbrella of foreplay. And so I'm not doing it because I'm trying to expect or get sex out of it. I'm doing it because I want deeper connection, and the natural, thing on the other side of that can be sex. Whatever the frequency looks like for you. So it can even be the little things of like helping out around the house without being asked. Expressing gratitude for one another, laughing together, being playful and childlike, and just having fun together. I wrote down on my list too. I was like, have you gone to the gym together? Because that's nice foreplay to like, watch each other work out. But just it's those little things, right? The things that you don't necessarily think about as being foreplay, but the things that allow you to like feel deeper connection to one another, and that also, make you feel connected and attracted to, and like you desire to actually be close to your partner.
Absolutely. I think the essence of it, right, is just maintaining your relationship, maintaining connection throughout the relationship. Like, throughout the day, throughout your encounters together. And not, you know, I think sometimes we don't realize like how important those small moments are, or like that quality time is, and how that actually creates like the foundation for greater intimacy and greater, you know um just greater connection, and also like safety to go and explore together, to go and like really like, not to be like crazy, you guys, to give yourself to each other, to like go deep. And sometimes I think culturally, like, there's like, oh, well, that's like a girl thing. I've heard that like, well, for men it's different. Okay, like chemically, maybe, yes, there are some differences that we experience and how sex is experienced in our bodies and what happens in our brains and things like that. But I also think like a man's capacity for intimacy and to like be vulnerable and to go deep in that way is 100% there. Like, y'all, I don't want your excuses. You know what I'm saying? Like, go, like, if you're a man listening to this, I challenge you to see like, how can you bring presence to your relationship, so that that intimacy and that foreplay and that connection is like being nurtured all the time, not just like in a moment of like, oh, I'm in the mood or whatever, right? And
Yeah.
I love what you said too, Kayla, about like the gym. Oh my gosh, that's so funny because we all have our little things. You know what I mean? Um,
Yes, and it's the things to like get curious about it, like get curious about what feels like it's deepening connection in your relationship or like getting you excited maybe about you know, having sex or being intimate in some way at some point during the day or night or whatever. So it's the little things, and you mentioned how like we don't give enough credit to men, especially where it's like they are fully capable of understanding this concept of creating deeper connection, and some of that comes from social messaging. I made a post on TikTok a few weeks ago that ended up going viral, and it was about why she's not initiating intimacy with you, and it was just like a list of reasons that we're actually going to cover, like some of these things like nervous system, emotional safety, things like that. So many women related, and then so many men were also commenting. Some were like, oh, that's so beautiful and thoughtful, and some were like, oh my gosh, like this is a belief system that this person has. And so, you know, there's of course a lot of variance when it comes to like where the social messaging is coming from for each person, how they're approaching sex, what their belief system is around like a man and a woman's role in sex and intimacy, what's expected, blah blah blah. So there are those things, but I think if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, oh, this is like a really nice perspective of like how foreplay is so important throughout the day, and it's not just the act right before sex, but it's this buildup of things over time. I think sometimes it can be helpful if you have a partner who maybe isn't on the same page to just sit down and have that loving conversation of like, hey, maybe let's like try and look at it through this lens and just kind of see how that goes for both of us. Because I think sometimes if there's a lack, like you don't know what you don't know. So if you don't know that foreplay is something that starts, you know, from the moment that you wake up, it's going to be tough for someone to bring that mindful awareness to how they're, you know, engaging with you throughout the day. So having those conversations can be super helpful instead of if you're listening and you're like, oh yeah, this is good, and then you just expect your partner to know this information, it's not going to go well.
Yeah, and also like on that, like if you're listening to this and you're like, "Gosh, I'm desiring this. I realize this is like something that's missing maybe or that isn't quite being like fulfilled in my relationship." Just remembering too like not to be like, well, he's not doing that, so he doesn't, you know, like don't let this be ammunition for like means for disconnect